Let's jump right into this. On the surface, the story making headlines right now looks like a straightforward humanitarian medical evacuation. But as an investigative reporter, when you actually start connecting the dots, the corporate partnerships, the sudden shifts in local infrastructure, the timeline, a completely different and much more complex picture emerges. Today, we're going to look at the cold hard facts. We'll compare the official statements with some highly unusual anomalies that frankly demand our attention. Our starting point here is May 20th, 2026. Dr. Peter Stafford, an American doctor working in the Democratic Republic of Congo for the Christian organization Surge, contracts Ebola. It's a highly critical situation. But when it's time for his medical evac, his flight doesn't head to the US. It heads to Germany, straight to the special isolation ward at the Charité hospital in Berlin. And shortly after he arrives, something really anomalous happens. His wife and 4 kids are also transported to Germany and admitted to that exact same isolation ward. It's a massive, highly unusual logistical operation, and it brings us to the core question of our explainer today. We really need to ask, was Berlin chosen just because the Charité hospital has the capability to safely isolate an Ebola patient, or was it chosen because the city has quietly morphed into a strategic intersection for high-security medicine, translational research, and biopharmaceutical production? We're going to impartially look at the geopolitical and medical overlap here to see exactly where it takes us. Now, what's fascinating is the glaring contrast between the official narrative and the reality on the ground. The official reason for flying Dr. Stafford to Germany is actually perfectly reasonable. Time is everything with Ebola, and Berlin is roughly 12 hours closer to the Congo than the United States. The White House even came out and denied that his return to America was politically blocked. From a pure medical standpoint, for a critically ill patient, a shorter flight totally makes sense. But then, we hit the anomaly: the transport of his wife and 4 kids. According to the sources, the family was brought over as close contacts. They were not confirmed symptomatic patients. And that right there raises some immense logistical and financial questions. Transporting 5 completely asymptomatic people on specialized high-risk medical evacuation flights, that's not exactly like booking a few economy seats on a commercial airline. We are talking about flying biocontainment units. If they weren't sick, why put them on a specialized rescue flight to Berlin? And if they were just high-risk contacts, why was Germany chosen as the observation site over a US facility? So who exactly made this highly unusual call? Who bears the legal responsibility? And at the end of the day, who footed the bill? There is a complete lack of political transparency here. Section 1. The corporate network, behind the scenes in Berlin. So let's look at the corporate network. At the very top, you've got the Charité hospital in Berlin. Going back to 1994, a company called ProBioGen spun off from the Charité. They're a biopharmaceutical contract developer and manufacturer. And this spin-off is crucial because it directly connects the prestigious hospital to some major international biopharma players. Specifically, this happens through an upcoming translation and founding platform called the Berlin Center for Gene and Cell Therapies, or the BCGCT. Let's break down exactly why ProBioGen is such a critical node in this investigation. First, it's a Charité spinoff. Second, and this is a really big deal, ProBioGen is an official partner with MAP Biopharmaceutical. If you follow this space, you know MAP is a major U.S. developer of state-backed filovirus treatments. They're famous for the Ebola drug ZMapp. In March 2024, ProBioGen and MAP announced they were partnering up. They're using ProBioGen's proprietary tech to develop an advanced antibody against the Marburg virus, which, by the way, is a highly lethal virus in the exact same family as Ebola. The third connection brings us right back to Berlin. ProBioGen has been tapped to run the process development in GMP, that is good manufacturing practice, production at that new BCGCT facility. We are talking about a massive 4,600 square meter joint facility launched by the Charité, the Berlin Institute of Health, and Bayer. The scale of this infrastructure shows us that Berlin isn't just setting up a few isolation beds. They are actively building an entire comprehensive translation and production chain for novel, advanced therapies, literally right next door to where this Ebola patient is being held. Section 2. Chronology. Press releases versus facts. Let's look at the timeline. March 2024, ProBioGen partners with MAP on the Marburg virus project. September 2025, that massive BC-GCT GMP facility is officially announced. Fast forward to April 21, 2026, ProBioGen announces Dr. Simon Bulling as their new chief operating officer, specifically to oversee the manufacturing of innovative biologics like viral vectors. Then, less than a month later, on May 20th, 2026, Dr. Stafford and his entire family are evacuated to Berlin. Now, we have to be clear, there is no public proof that Dr. Bulling or ProBioGen is directly involved in the specific patient's care. But this massive operational scaling in biologicals perfectly coincided with the arrival of the Ebola patient just weeks later. Section 3. Berlin's new biodefense architecture. Berlin is no longer just a hospital location, but a strategic platform for high-risk infectious medicine. That quote really captures the essence of what we're looking at here. Now, to be completely fair and impartial, we absolutely have to state that there's no proven direct link between these new biopharma facilities and the specific treatment of Dr. Stafford. We don't have that smoking gun. However, the parallel establishment of this massive biodefense hub, combining clinical care, experimental research, and large-scale manufacturing, it's something we simply can't ignore. Is this case merely clinical administrative assistance, or are we looking at a visible example of Berlin stepping up as Europe's new geopolitical platform for experimental therapies? Section 4. The investigative research agenda. Moving forward, here are the critical gaps in the public narrative that we need to fill. First up, who exactly requested help from Germany through diplomatic channels? Second, what is the true medical status of the doctor's family? Third, and perhaps the most important piece of the puzzle, is Dr. Stafford currently receiving experimental therapeutics? Are they using compassionate use protocols? And if they are, who provided those drugs? Do they link back to MAT Biopharmaceuticals programs or therapeutics funded by the U.S. biomedical agency BARDA? When political decision-making intersects with private corporate developments like this, the public absolutely has a right to know. Which leaves us with this final thought to chew on. When public funds, heavy diplomatic weight, and high-risk biodefense infrastructures all intersect, societal transparency isn't just nice to have, it is absolutely non-negotiable. Yes, Charité can isolate and evolve a patient safely, but the story doesn't end at clinical care. An American doctor and his asymptomatic family are flown halfway across the world to a site that is currently transforming into a massive public-private advanced therapy hub. So I'll leave you with the ultimate question: why Berlin? Was it literally just the flight time, or was it the unique biomedical architecture being quietly built right in the heart of the city? Keep asking questions, keep looking at the facts, and thanks for joining me for this explainer.